Hello, beautiful homemakers. Before I delve into the pamphlets, I want to tell you about an interaction I saw, and then I want to give you a praise report from one of our listeners. I recently went to the Griffith Observatory, and while it's free to get in, parking is horrendous. There aren't many spots to park. Every single spot is $10 an hour, and you have to prepay. So if you're parked on this hill, this winding hill, you have to find the place to pay and then go back to your car and then walk up the hill to the observatory. It's really very terrible. Well, I had been there before and I knew that we were probably only going to spend 2 hours there. So I prepaid $20 and we got one of the last actual parking spaces on the hill near the observatory. Well, we had been there about an hour. We saw most of the exhibits. We saw the movie in the planetarium, and then we needed to go down to the lower level to see the exhibits there. And I heard a man say, "Is this all there is?" I didn't realize this place was so small. I put in 3 hours of parking, and both the wife and the grown daughter jumped all over him. Why would you do that? What made you do 3 hours? You just wasted $30. Now, he had never been there before, and only 1 hour had passed. But why were they getting upset with him? Estimating the time you're going to spend at a museum that you've never been to? Yeah, I think most people chose 3 hours. Because you're not going to want to go back to the car and put in more money. And you're not going to want to get caught in the movie and have your car ticketed because you didn't make it to your car in time. The way they jumped on him for wasting maybe $10? They're not the ones that were in charge. They didn't go put the money into the meter themselves. They let him do it. Oh, yeah, it's his job to take care. But then when he doesn't figure things out perfectly, jump all over him. Obviously, I'm giving an example of what not to do. Felt so bad for this guy. I hope that they still had the lower level to do and that he felt his money wasn't wasted. But the fact that both his wife and grown daughter jumped all over him, whereas the son, the grown son, he said nothing. He knew it could have just as easily been him with the women jumping all over him for not doing something perfectly. We really need to watch our tone, watch what we say. Just say, "Oh well, thanks for paying the parking meter. Let's take our time. Let's go through it again. Let's enjoy the view. Let's have lunch here and make the best of it." Of the 3 hours. After all, it takes a long time from wherever you live in LA to get to the Griffith Observatory. Let's watch what we say. And that brings me to a praise report. You all have left me so many encouraging comments, and I thank you so much for that. This one brought tears to my eyes, and she gave me permission to read it. And of course, I'm not going to be able to say her name right. Takozo. Maybe it's Nikozo. I'm sorry. I don't know how to pronounce your name. She said, "Hello, beautiful homemaker. I am commenting all the way from South Africa. I found your page a few weeks ago after I had been praying and fasting, contemplating on leaving my boyfriend of 6 years. I am 34 and desperately want to start a family. I was just so tired of being a girlfriend and also was beginning to resent him for keeping me waiting for so long. I was also starting to hate myself for staying and not having the courage to leave. I was immediately captivated by your sweet voice and literally binged your Fascinating Womanhood series, as well as Secrets of Fascinating Womanhood. I decided I would put to practice some of the tasks after every lesson in Secrets of Fascinating Womanhood as my last resort. I thought, if this doesn't work, then I will have to leave the relationship. I also was working with a counselor at this time to heal childhood traumas. Every week I practiced each task as best as I could, those appropriate for a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. I also wrote a love journal for my boyfriend, telling him how much I admire his masculine traits and how grateful I was to have him in my life. He was so touched when he read it. Guess what? 2 weeks ago, he said he would like to go and talk to my family regarding paying my bride price. That is the equivalent of getting engaged in my culture. His uncle will be flying into South Africa soon to accompany him for the negotiations. Thank you so much. I honestly believe that God led me to you and to your page, and am looking forward to soon becoming a fascinating wife and mother. God bless you. God bless you too. I am so excited to hear this information. Congratulations. You'll have to update me and let me know how negotiations went. And now I'm going to begin reading pamphlet 5 of the 1922 original Fascinating Womanhood pamphlets. We are in chapter 10, Where and How to Meet Men. With this chapter, we enter upon an entirely new division of study. Back in pamphlet 2, it will be remembered, we determined upon the 3 parts of our plan of attack. The first part was to make you a girl distinctly worth having, the kind of a girl a man should want to marry, even without the enchantments of art, and the kind of girl who is all of this from the man's point of view. This is on the pamphlet 1 and 2 playlist. The second part was to give you, after making you such a woman inwardly, remember we talked a lot about character, the character of a worthy woman, the appearance and the manner which would show your qualifications outwardly. So let me reread that. The second part was to give you, after making you such a woman inwardly, part 1, the appearance and the manner which would show your qualifications outwardly. Playlist 3, 4, and 5. These 2 parts of our plan of attack have now been covered. If you have taken our lessons to heart and have acted upon them, you have no doubt gone far toward making yourself a woman healthy in mind and body, wholesomely respected both by herself and her associates, and at the same time liked for her lovable and generous character. You have also made some progress toward making yourself a more womanly woman, a bundle of feminine tricks and traits, girlish as she can be in appearance, manner, and in general impression. You want men to say, she is so charming. Altogether, you ought soon to be, if this progress is kept up, a girl any man might be glad to have for his wife, and a creature well worth his cherishing and protecting forever. Therefore, though you are by no means at the end of this progress, and though you must constantly practice and improve yourself as you go along, you are ready to begin the 3rd and last part of our plan of attack. That was, as you will remember, to learn and to practice the tactics and the strategy, the arts and the methods, which have been found to be universally successful in winning men. This is the division of study upon which we are now entered. What does the average commercial institution do when it has an exceptionally good article to offer the public? It advertises. It proclaims the merits of its article on billboards, electric signs, newspapers, magazines, moving pictures, and in cards on the streetcars. Sometimes it offers samples or gives demonstrations showing how the article is used. It sends salesmen out to the dealers and induces the latter to put in a large stock. It offers to trim the window for the dealer in an attractive manner, thus helping him to sell the article to the public. Everything possible is done to let people know that this article can be had by calling on the dealer, that it is worth having, that it is the best article of its kind. The manufacturer knows that even the best product in the world will not be in demand unless people hear about it, read about it, see it on display, and know where they can get it. In many respects, you're just like that manufacturer, except that you have something 100 times better to offer. Yourself. A woman as good as any woman alive. And a girl that any man would be lucky to have for his own. But it doesn't matter in the least how good you are and how well worth having you are unless the men know it. Therefore, you will have to follow the example of the manufacturer. Use every method consistent with maidenly modesty to let the men know that you are alive, who you are, where you can be seen, and what you are worth. You want them to notice you and meet you and learn about you until they can appreciate you at your full value. Many girls, of course, shrink from calling attention to themselves and in consequence never meet the men likely to be interested in them. Others are too bold, too obviously eager to get attention, talked about that last time, and thereby cheapen themselves in men's eyes. Okay, what's the number one way you cheapen yourself in a man's eyes? You show too much skin, too much cleavage, too short of a skirt, showing your midriff. Though the advertising campaign must be undertaken, therefore, and though you must leave no stone unturned to attract favorable attention to yourself, and this next part is in caps, you must use the utmost taste and discrimination in your choice of methods. So if you haven't yet listened to the prior pamphlets, this is a good time to go back and listen to the playlists. Listen while you're walking or exercising or cleaning your house or doing your dishes, and you can listen to them at 1.5 or double speed. The next section is called How to Increase Your Opportunities to Meet Men. The first thing I want to say is pray that you will be in the right place at the right time to meet the husband who would be best for you. And if you're a Christian, only date Christian men. Many people say that religion doesn't matter, but once you want to start a family, religion matters greatly. And you're not going to be happy with a man that isn't of your religion. We've talked previously about CNOs, Christians in name only. If you want a happy marriage, you need a real Christian, not one in name only. Not one who is just checking a box. Not one who says, well, I was born into a Christian family. No. You'll be happiest if you marry a man who loves the Lord just as much as you do. A woman cannot do as a commercial advertiser does. Simply display her merits in the newspapers and magazines. She can only show herself in her home, in her social circle, and if she is a businesswoman, in her business capacity. But remember, men are not attracted to your business acumen. Men can know nothing about her. They cannot meet her, and she cannot meet them, except through her acquaintances and friends. She cannot appear at dances, parties, outings, and other social affairs where men are present unless she is invited by some acquaintance. She cannot even invite men to social affairs at her own home unless an acquaintance brings them or introduces them. And this next part is in caps. Always and everywhere, a girl is limited to her acquaintanceship and her social circle. This is the only medium, the only means to take the place of newspapers and magazines through which she can become known to others. And at the end, I'm going to tell you about this woman who I was helping, who was either widowed or divorced in her 50s, and what she did. Did you ever realize how utterly dependent you thus are upon your acquaintances and friends? Did it ever occur to you that the young gallant who will someday capture you will be met through one of these acquaintances, and perhaps through the one you least expect to do you any good? Since your acquaintances are to be of such importance in this campaign of yours, manifestly the first thing to do is to increase the number of them. Don't be too particular. Though some of them may be objectionable to you in certain ways, and though others will not be the kind you would invite to your more pretentious social affairs, that is no reason why you shouldn't be on easy speaking terms with them. Take the little girl next door, for instance, a boisterous child of 12 who always did irritate you. She may have an eligible young uncle or a cousin, or her playmate may have a big brother, or either of them may have a young physician, with whom you may become acquainted some day by being on friendly terms with the young miscreant. Similarly, with every man, woman, and child you know of. All of them may have relatives or friends unknown to you now, whom you may some day be very desirous of meeting. The narrower your circle of acquaintance, the fewer men you are likely to meet, and the less likelihood of your meeting the right one. And then in caps again, the broader your acquaintanceship, the more men you are likely to meet, and the more likelihood of your meeting the one destined for you. Nor must you neglect an acquaintance merely because you see no present prospect of his or her helping you to meet others. At any time this unappreciated acquaintance may have a visitor or acquire a new connection that will enable him or her to introduce you to someone worth meeting. It doesn't cost you anything to make a great number of acquaintances and to keep on friendly terms with them, even if they are not in a position to give you immediate aid. Being on friendly terms with them does not necessarily mean that they must be invited to all your social affairs or be introduced into your more intimate circle. But even this intimate circle of close friends ought to be broadened to include as many as possible who are acceptable to it. Many girls are rather exclusive in their social tastes, satisfied with a few dear friends and not desirous of more. That's mainly introverts. They meet the relatives and acquaintances of these dear friends, but do not find among them a man acceptable to themselves. After that, these girls meet no more eligible men, for they have exhausted the possibilities of their limited circle. There is little likelihood in such a limited field of their finding the particular man who would be attracted to them. Men's tastes are as variegated as their faces. If you should meet 1,000 men, only 1 or 2 out of the 1,000 perhaps would be fascinated by your particular personality. If you should meet only 50 men, the probabilities are that you will miss this 1 or 2 men whom you are otherwise likely to interest. The thing to do, therefore, is to welcome frequent additions to your intimate circle of close friends, and to increase thus your opportunities to meet desirable and worthy men. So this neighbor who I was helping clean out her desk, she came across this list of when she was in her 50s. She gave it to me to share the gist of it with you. She wrote down every single man she knew, all of her activities, and she was involved in quite a lot. Then she wrote, have not met, not available, have dated, not interested, just friends. So under have not met, she has things like Susie's friend, the guy from my high school who knows so-and-so, Marcella's friend, Shirley's brother, the guy from church. Then not available, she had some stars next to men's names that were married, but whom she considered to have the traits that she wanted in a man. That was going to be her ideal. Then she wrote the men she had dated, wrote their names, and put notes. This guy was old and cheap, but he was also fun, and he enjoyed dancing. Another guy, she wrote, he was too young. He's going to go into the friend category. Another man was too short. She wanted a man her height or taller. On one guy, she wrote, bad choice. Don't know what was wrong with him, but she wanted to avoid him. And with several others, she had a question mark and said something like, he doesn't really appear interested, whether that be in her or that be in marriage in general. Another interesting list is she was very organized, and she had her clothes grouped like we have talked about in the past, and she had an area of party clothes, and then she's got her list. Silver dress, wedding dress, black pants, white pleat, black chiffon, If it was a skirt, she said these are the tops that go with it. Black top with diamonds, black with sequins, white sequin top, hot pink top, pink long dress, etc. Then she would do lists of where she wore these clothes. One type of party, a group that she was interested in, she's got the years. 2002, pink dress. 2003, off-white dress with white cashmere top. 2004, the ivory dress. 2005, the purple dress. She even has a list for what she wore on Easter for the different years, what she wore on certain vacations or to parties, to church, to her club meetings. See, the things I have been mentioning really are done, and it's done by very organized women, and they get results. There's no need to rely on your memory, especially now with our calendars on our phone. We can take a lot of notes. And so, of course, today, we have it so much easier with the dating sites. And I wish I could tell you which ones are respectable and which ones you should avoid. I don't know. Back 20 years ago, eHarmony was an excellent one. Of course, today you no longer need a formal introduction to a man. You can even introduce yourself these days. But many of the things that I just read still hold true, including what I'll read in the next video about a surefire way to meet men. But of course, you know this. This is mainly for the introverts. The more often you attend events, the more men you will meet. I suggest whatever church you attend, not only do you attend every event there, but you go to surrounding churches where you agree with the theology and attend their events as well. Get to know the wider body of Christians. Now, I know that is much easier for an extrovert than an introvert, but you still have to make the effort. Just this past week, I went to a church event at my favorite VBS church. They were having a week-long series of meetings every night. And one night afterwards, I slowly made my way out of the church and talked to a few people. Got in my car and then thought, I am not being very social. And I thought, do I dare go back in there and meet more people? And I did. I was in my car and I was driving out. But I parked my car and then I went back in, and as I was re-entering, someone I knew from VBS said, "Oh, are you coming back in?" And I just made a quick excuse. "Oh yeah, I wanted to use the restroom." No, I wanted to get to know more people. Then I just made my way to the foyer, and there was a woman standing there alone, and I just introduced myself. And we got to talking, and then several people came over that I knew from VBS. I had some good conversations. I am an introvert. I know what it takes to get out of that comfort zone, but remember, no one is judging you. This is not high school. People are friendly. They do want to meet you. I know it can be awkward, but just stick around and reach out. I have spoken on many videos about how awkward things have been. It was even at this church many years ago now, probably 13 years ago, where I walked into this church for the first time, and there was about 8 women sitting down on various pews, and no one said a word. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is the most unfriendly church I've ever been in. And I sat in my pew for like 5 minutes. I was like, what's wrong with these women? And so I just leaned over and tapped the shoulder of the person in front of me and said, "Hi, I'm Janine, and are you a member here?" And she said, "No, this is my first time." I said, "Oh, it's my first time too." And then the woman behind me, she told him, "It's my first time too." And every single woman said, "It's my first time too." And then about 10 minutes later, the women who were preparing everything for VBS, then they all came in and greeted us. But just think, if I hadn't broken the ice, everybody would have gone away thinking, this is the most unfriendly church ever, and who knows if any of us would have come back the next day. Instead, we all had a wonderful time. You break the ice. You be what you want other people to be. In fact, the Bible even says that. You act and you do and you say to others what you want them to act, do, and say to you. So I'm going to end on that note. I'm going to do some research on places to meet men that is not online, and I'll try and come up with a few stories, and we'll go from there with a surefire way to meet men.